Welcome to tonight's live stream. I am going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody on social media know that the show is starting right now. So I just need a minute to. So I just need a minute. Okay, audio is good. What's going on, Gordon Freeman? What's going on, Tackman Plan Killer 187? Glad to see you here for tonight's show. And before I get into tonight's topic, I am going to do a little more perfunctory. Now, I'm going to give everybody a progress report on the John Haynes at Death's Door comic. I got page 29 from Antonio Baldari yesterday. Not today, yesterday I got it. And this page is absolutely fantastic. And this starts the conclusion of the John Haynes at Death's Door comic. So we've only got 4 more pages to go on at Death's Door and a cover, and the art will be finished for the comic. And with the art finished, I'll be starting to launch the Kickstarter, and I'm hoping to get that book out to you sooner rather than later. And I'm really excited about the John Haynes at Death's Door comic, and I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you when we get the whole process finished. Now, the SJS Direct 2022 catalog, I want to launch that after the At Death's Door Kickstarter, and the books for the SJS Direct 2022 catalog are all laid out. So all I'm waiting for now is Bill Walko to send me the concept sketches for ISIS Legacy and Easting Horror of the Hyena Woman. And Horror of the Hyena Woman will be dedicated to one of my Facebook friends and a viewer who gave me the idea for the story. But until those SJS Direct 2022 books come out, you can pick up the 2021 fantasy books. John Haynes Taking Care of Business, ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, and Easting Vacation. All of these books are available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and you can get all of these books in paperback on Amazon right now. So that's another update I wanted to get people on, because I want to see more readers pick up books. I am 3 sales away from 30 sales for the month, and if you guys could head over to Amazon, we could make those up to 30 sales for the month, which is something I'd like to see done by the end of the month. I mean, we've got 2 more days for the month, and I'd like to see us hit that benchmark of 30 sales. So all I need is 3 more viewers to pick up SJS Direct Books to hit that benchmark of 30 sales. Now, another book I wanted to talk about very briefly is The Woman Crisis, and I'm getting closer and closer to the final of first draft. And The Woman Crisis, right now, I'm working on a chapter called Bust Downtown towards the conclusion of the book. Now I'm getting towards the solution phase on The Woman Crisis, and I hope to have that book for everyone in fall of 2022. Now, with all of that perfunctory taken care of, I'm going to drop a link to the Cash App and ask everybody to drop a donation to the Cash App, because that's all how I help to stay on the air. So after I drop this Cash App link, we're going to get into tonight's topic. Now, tonight's topic is about single mothers and the surrogate marriage they have to their sons. Now, this whole topic was inspired by a tragic event that took place here in New York City, where a 47-year-old man, LaShawn McNeil, participated in the murder of 2 New York City police officers. Now, this whole incident took place all because your LaShawn McNeil had an argument with his mother over his vegan diet. Now, this whole argument, it comes from a whole form of codependent relationship that many single mothers have with their sons. And a lot of single mothers, when their relationship falls apart with their boyfriend or their husband or their baby daddy, what they do is project their feelings they have for their husband, their boyfriend, or their baby daddy onto their son. And they do this unconsciously because many of these women have serious unresolved issues as related to having healthy relationships with men. Now, these women, because their relationship with a man did not resolve in a healthy fashion, what they do is they go out here and project the whole ideas they have for their relationship they want to have with a man onto their sons. So what happens in most of these relationships is the woman is having not a relationship with her son as a boy would have with his mother. No, he's having a surrogate relationship with the mother like she would have with the boyfriend, the father, or the husband. And these are things that you can see that with many of these single moms, because what these women will do is say things like, now you're the man of the house. And when a woman makes a statement like that, it sounds harmless to some, but it is a statement of how dysfunctional this woman truly is, because what she's doing is she is projecting a role onto that boy that he is no way in shape or form ready for. So when you have a woman, what she will do is she will project this whole idea onto this boy, and she's doing this because she has all of these issues as related to how her relationship didn't work out. And what she wants to do is try to make that relationship work out through her son. So a lot of young boys, their mothers will be sitting there trying to go out here and make the boy into the man that they want. And they think that this is going to make him a better man, but all you're creating is a lot of dysfunction, because the relationship between a mother and a son is completely different than the relationship between a man and a woman. A relationship between a man and his woman is an interdependent relationship, and it is a relationship that is created once that woman and that man get married and come together. Now, in the Bible, it states that a man and a woman will forsake mother and father and come together and cleave together with each other. So the whole relationship between the man and the woman is designed for them to come together, and it's designed for them to be together and lean on each other. Unfortunately, over the last 50 years, as America's women have been indoctrinated into white feminist culture, especially black women, they have learned that they don't need to cleave to a husband, and this leaves many of these women empty on the inside. And when they're empty on the inside, there's a void. And what happens to many of these women is that when the man leaves, there's nobody there to cleave to. So they cleave onto their sons. And when they cleave onto their sons, what happens is that the son winds up not in an interdependent relationship under God's natural order. No, they wind up in a codependent relationship where the mother has all of the power. And with the mother having all of the power in the relationship, the boy is given some sort of pseudo authority as the so-called man of the house. And what they do is they create this dysfunctional paradigm where this boy is thinking that he has some sort of power and control. And the woman goes out here and coddles the boy and gives him privileges that a man would have. Now, this boy is in no way, shape, or form mentally, emotionally, or spiritually ready for these kinds of roles of manhood. And a boy needs to be taught how to be a man by a man. Unfortunately, since the woman has driven the boy's father out of the home, the boy has nobody there to teach him how to be a man, and he's learning manhood from a woman. And as he learns manhood from this woman in this codependent relationship, he learns dysfunction from day one. Now, what is really troubling about this surrogate husband is the fact that this boy oftentimes starts out in the role of the surrogate husband at a very early age. And as this boy starts out at this very early age, he is thrown into a role again that he has no real understanding what it's all about. Going to take a minute to shout out everybody. Good evening, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. Good evening, Kid Gravity Beyond. Good evening, Sir KB. Good evening, Kenneth L. Good evening, Lawrence. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to get back into tonight's topic, but I wanted everybody to know that I know that you're here. And again, the boy is, again, not ready for the role that the mother is putting him in. Now, the boy, he's just a small child, and what he's looking for is guidance from the mother, but the mother wants the boy to be the man that she wants to have in her life. So many of these women, what they want to do is turn the boy into this surrogate husband, and they want the boy to be the man that they want, that they drove out of their life or has left the home. And again, when they do this, the boy is just is on a road to becoming a complete wreck because his relationships dynamics are not the way they're supposed to be. I mean, a boy is supposed to have a mother as an authority figure that gives him guidance, and a boy is supposed to have a mother who is supposed to be teaching him part of the life skills he's going to need to go out here. And the way a mother nurtures a son is the way different from the way she nurtures her man. And this is where we have a serious problem with boundaries as related to your boys who grow up in single mother households because the mother constantly crosses the line and puts the boy into positions where he's out here making decisions and taking over things that, again, he's just not ready for. Now, Computer Robots asks a question. He says, do you think it's possible that a single mother who is very hard on her son and her daughter can teach them to be tough when the father doesn't want to be involved? No, not at all, because a boy, most single mothers, they coddle their sons and they mess their sons up because they give them everything. And they're oftentimes harder on the daughters because they see the daughters as competition. Usually, with your single mother, the entire dynamic of the family is damaged. And because the dynamic of the family is damaged, this is what really messes up the whole relationship. And they can't teach the boy how to have discipline and resolve because one of the things that the mother does, because she over nurtures the son, is she oftentimes teaches him to give up. And yeah, Gabriel makes a good point. Yeah, they get too emotionally close to their children. And that's another big problem that your single mothers have with their sons is they get way too emotionally close to their children. So you have a mother who is not having a boundary set by the father, and that's what really messes these boys up. So when there's no father there to say, no, you're not going to go out here and buy my son whatever he wants or let him get away with whatever he wants, this is where the boy goes off the rails. Now, the main reason why your single mother turns the boy into a surrogate husband is because she is dealing with emotional baggage because she can't get her emotional needs met by a man. Now, when in your relationships, again, we go back to the Bible, it states that a man and a woman are going to forsake their mother and father, and they're going to cleave together. Now, when these men and women cleave together, they form a mental, spiritual, and emotional bond, and the woman is supposed to get her needs met by that man who is supposed to be her husband. And the husband, when he provides for the woman's mental, spiritual, and emotional needs under God's natural order, this is what makes it where she has a balanced perspective on things. And when she is getting her needs met by the father and the husband, what happens is that she's not out here looking for somebody else to meet those needs. So with her getting her emotional needs met and her spiritual needs met by her husband, she now can approach the relationship with her son from a bit more objective perspective because she's not looking to get her needs met by a man because the man is fulfilling those needs, and because he's fulfilling those needs, she doesn't have to go out here and look to someone else. Now, your boys, they don't really know that this is going on because when they have this in a single mother household, they're just thinking, this is mommy. But mommy, like Tala Phillips has pointed out, is participating in emotional incest because she's trying to have that relationship with that boy that she wants to have with that man. And she wants that boy to go out here and give her meet her emotional needs the same way that that man was supposed to meet those emotional needs. And that boy can't meet those emotional needs because he himself has not really fully developed as an adult. And that's the most troubling thing about these surrogate husbands is that the mother projects all of these things onto the son and in effect trying to get those emotional needs met by a child, and it leads to the boy being raised with some really dysfunctional relationship dynamics because he's instead of him learning how to be a man who can go out here and function on his own, what he is tethered to a mother who just holds on to him and won't let him grow up to become a man. She arrests his development because she wants him to be in this whole state where she's under him and he's growing up to be this really messed up male because she is in a relationship with the boy and she does not want to see him grow up to become a man on his own. Now, examples of this were presented to us in media, like your Norman Bates in Psycho. And your Norman Bates, he was one of those guys, he had a too close attachment to his mother. And that was that too close attachment to his mother that made him completely psychotic when his mother wound up passing away. And I believe the roots of that whole story were based on the surrogate husband relationship because he was in the home with the mother being her husband, taking care of her the same way a husband would take care of his own woman. And again, this is where the lines get blurred because the mother, being the teacher, goes out here and teaches the boy to be a partner to her instead of him being a subordinate in the family. So she's teaching him to be somebody who will be her partner, but that's not the relationship dynamic that a son is supposed to have with his mother. And when we start, and the whole thing is that this relationship will go on for many years, and we really won't start to see a lot of friction as related to the relationship because until the boy hits puberty. Now, when the boy hits puberty, that's when we start to see the friction between the son and the surrogate mother, because as the boy starts to grow up, he wants to go out here and do actual man things. And when the boy starts doing actual man things, what happens is that this is where the mother starts to really start to fall apart because there's nobody there to have that relationship with her. And in some ways, she feels betrayed because she feels the boy is committing some sort of emotional adultery. I'm taking a point from the viewer who talked about emotional incest. And yeah, that's what they want. That's when they get upset because they see the boy going out here and he's talking to girls, he's talking about dating. And that's when the mother starts to get upset because she feels like the boy is betraying her. And in some cases, he's betraying her the same way that the man she was involved with many years ago, she believes, cheated on her. So what she'll do is start to get upset when she sees the boy going out here and pursuing girls. And she gets upset and possessive and jealous because she feels like this boy is cheating on her. But the boy is not cheating on her. No, the boy is exploring relationships, and that is what a healthy boy is supposed to do because he's trying to figure out how relationships work. Unfortunately, he does not have a healthy model for how relationships work because his mother has him in a dysfunctional, codependent relationship. And as she sees him with other women, she starts to get jealous of those other women because she sees those other women as competition. And because she sees those other women as competition, she really starts to really start being extremely jealous. And that's when the dynamics of the relationship start to deteriorate because she starts participating in passive aggressive behaviors, talking bad about the girlfriend he's involved with, going out here and trying to sabotage his ability to go out here and go out on dates with the girl, talking greasy about the girl. And in some cases, if the guy brings the girl home, she will even go out here and try to verbally abuse the woman or try to attack the woman because she wants to drive this girl or the woman in some cases away from her son. And she wants to drive them away not because the girl is or the woman is a bad person. No, she wants them to drive them away because she wants to continue having her smooth world where she can have this codependent relationship with her son. And that codependent relationship, again, is about making sure that this boy does not grow up to become a man because she does not want to see that boy grow up to become a man who actualizes his potential and grows up to become the kind of man who forsakes his mother. So what she wants to do is hold an emotional hose onto the boy and keep the boy from going out here and going out to become who he really should be. So what she wants to do is keep the boy constantly under her. And she thinks this is helping. She's trying to help the boy, but in actuality, she's choking the life out of the boy. And this is why, in many cases, we have a lot of young men who wind up becoming these men in crisis because their development winds up arrested by their mothers who don't want them to grow up to become full, actualized men. No, these women, they want to continue having the surrogate husband relationship with the boy, and she wants to keep the boy up under her at a mental age, I say, that's mid adolescence. And as long as the boy is still a child, she's perfectly fine with that. But once the boy starts becoming a man and starts taking charge of his life, that's when she starts to have friction, and that's when she starts to have issues with the boy. And that's when she starts to really start to get angry at the boy. And that's when we start to see the relationship deteriorate almost in the exact same way that her relationship deteriorated with the boy's father, her or her husband or her boyfriend. The relationship will start to deteriorate because the boy, as he's going into manhood, is starting to assert himself and he's starting to set a tone and a direction for his life. So as the boy starts going out here and starts making power moves, like say he's going to go out here and he's going to go take a job or he's going to start a business, that's when the mother in this whole surrogate relationship becomes extremely insecure and she starts doing things to sabotage the boy. She'll do things like start arguments with her son, start going back and forth with him. And again, the boy, because he doesn't understand that this woman's whole perspective on relationships is completely twisted, he thinks he's arguing with his mother, but in reality, his mother is arguing with a with the boy's father, an ex-boyfriend, or a ex-husband, and she is getting upset about this whole relationship that she had in the past deteriorating, and she doesn't want to see this boy become a man like her father. And that's when you'll start to see the woman going out here talking about calling the police and making threats the same way she did with the boy's father, and making efforts to push the boy right out of her life. That's the great irony about this whole codependent situation, is she's thinking that by making these threats, she can make the boy back into the submissive position. But what she's doing is driving the boy further away and making it where he can't really work with her, because she doesn't want to go out here and cut the apron strings and let that boy be a man. Now, in a healthy relationship, a father, what he does is when he sees his boy growing up, he steps in and he severs the apron strings, because he understands codependent relationships are not healthy relationships. And if his son is going to grow up to become a leader like him, what he needs him to do is be able to go out here and take those steps to being on his own. But boys who grow up with single mothers in surrogate relationships, they try to make those kind of steps, but then the mother pulls an emotional hose. And when she pulls the emotional hose, this knocks the boy back down onto the floor, and it makes it where, in a lot of cases, a lot of boys, they get discouraged, and a lot of those boys just give up on life. And instead of those boys persevering to, like men go out here and do, what they do is these boys give up in a lot of cases. And this is why we have so many mama's boys out here, and these mama's boys wind up staying inside of their mother's homes or their mother's places. And this is why the boy never goes out on his own, because the mother, again, in her fear of losing her surrogate husband, this fear keeps the boy from growing up and growing out to become the man he's supposed to be. So these surrogate relationships, they are not very healthy relationships, because these surrogate relationships, what they do is, again, they arrest the development of black boys, and especially black boys and boys who grow up in single mother households. And these boys, they just stop going out here and persevering towards their goals. They just stop going out here and making those efforts to go out here and stand up on their own. And this just makes it where these boys start stagnating. And when these boys start stagnating, what happens is they start to get frustrated, they start to get angry, and that's when they start participating in destructive and violent behaviors, like I talk about in The Man Crisis. And you can get that book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBook, or Google Play. So these boys, they never really can go out here and actualize their potential. And what happens is, instead of them growing up, they start growing old. And this is how we get the 35-year-old Pookies and Ray Rays standing outside the corner of the Arab store, or the guy sleeping in the racing car bed at 50, because mom won't let the boy grow up. She won't let the boy grow into manhood, and she's scared to let the boy grow into manhood, because she fears that if he again grows up to become a man, he will leave her like the man who left her. And what's really ironic is that as she keeps the boy from growing up to become a man, in some cases he winds up leaving her, but not in a positive fashion. Instead of him leaving in a positive fashion, like getting his own place, building up financial wealth, and going out here to buy his own home. He winds up a part of the prison system, and he winds up still in a codependent relationship with her. And in that codependent relationship with her, she's sending him care packages to the jail or to the prison. And the boy is, again, not going out here and growing to become a healthy young man. No, because mama won't let the boy grow up. She just hinders his growth. And instead of him going out into the world like a man, he's going to the prison system and he's being turned out by guys like Bubba and Tiny. And he's learning how to become more dysfunctional because mama won't let the boy grow up because she still has issues with the man who was the boy's father. And she projects all of her issues with the boy's father onto him whenever he stops being her surrogate husband. When he starts to go out here and be the man that he's supposed to be, she winds up getting insecure. She winds up getting angry. She wants to call the police, and she's calling the police not to stop the boy from committing any sort of crime, but in many cases, he's committing a crime in going out here and is just growing up. And that's something she doesn't like because she's in her feelings about her son. And she's in her feelings about her son because she is upset that the dynamics of the relationship are changing. And she's going to be put in a place where this man is going to set boundaries for her. And he's going to have an interdependent relationship with her. Because as boys grow up, boys are supposed to cut the apron strings. They're supposed to set boundaries with their mothers, and they're supposed to change the relationship dynamic with their mothers so that they can go out here and have a relationship with their wife. Again, that goes back to the Bible where God said a man and a woman are supposed to forsake mother and father and cleave to each other. And part of cleaving to each other is setting a boundary after they have forsaken mother and father to be their own family under God's natural order. But many men, boys, and black men, especially black men, they cannot go out here and be that man because mama doesn't want him to forsake her. No, he doesn't want him to leave her. And she wants him not to leave her because she does not have that man to cleave to. And what she wants to do is cleave to her son. And cleaving to her son, again, is not natural. It's not healthy. God did not make the man to have to cleave to his mother. No, he made the man to cleave to his wife. And a man cannot be supported by his mother because the relationship dynamics just don't work. I mean, a mother, that's a very special and unique relationship. It is a one-of-a-kind relationship, and there will be no other woman out here who will love a son like a mother, but a relationship between a wife and a man. That's a completely different dynamic, and that's one of the relationships that really messes up the boy who grows up in the single mother household, who has the surrogate relationship with his mother, is he oftentimes makes the mistake of thinking that every woman is just like mom. And every woman is not going to be like mom, and your relationship with your woman will never be like mom. And that's something that frustrates a lot of women who have relationships with guys who come from single mother households, is they're looking for this man to be a leader. They're looking for this man to be a head. They're looking for this man to set the order. They're looking for this man to set direction, but he does not know how to do these things because he's used to females taking the lead. He's used to females setting direction. He's used to females setting the tone. And he's used to a codependent relationship where the woman does everything. And he doesn't understand that this woman, she's looking for a completely different set of relationship dynamics. And he hasn't learned that. And that's one of the reasons why he has friction with his girlfriend or his wife when it's time to have a more serious relationship, because he has not matured mentally to have that more serious relationship. Now, again, as a boy grows up, he matures into manhood and he understands that, again, the relationship with his girlfriend, in order for it to graduate to marriage, he has to understand that that relationship is not going to be like mama, and he cannot expect his girlfriend, who will become his wife, to be like mama. That's, again, it's really just a lot of pressure on a woman. It's very frustrating to deal with if you are a girlfriend or a wife. And I know there's a lot of women who are out here who know about this. You're trying to have a relationship with this guy, and you have to deal with this guy who because he's in a surrogate relationship with mom, he can't have the relationship with you because he's just constantly talking about how she does things. And that's really not fair to her, because this woman, she wants to have a relationship with you, but you're still in a relationship with your mom. And oftentimes, again, this is very frustrating for a girlfriend or a wife to deal with, because she wants to have that relationship where she can get closer to that boy or who was growing up to be a man. And what happens is she can't get as close to him as she wants to. Now, I've heard from many women who get involved with these guys in the single mother households. When they try to get closer to the guy, they feel like there's a wall between them and the guy. And the wall that's between them is that mama, because he's still in a relationship with his mother. And because he's still in a relationship with his mother and she's got emotional ties tied to him, she can't really go out here and have that connection with that man, because he's still in a relationship with a surrogate wife, and he's still attached to the surrogate wife. So he can't go out here and connect with the woman in the way he's supposed to go out here and connect, and he can't bond with the woman in the way he needs to bond. So this is really something that many women, they wind up, it's really frustrating. It's frustrating for them to deal with, because they want to have a relationship with their husband, but they can't have a relationship with their husband because he's committing emotional adultery with mama. And as he's committing emotional adultery with mama, he can't go out here and be that man that his wife needs to be. Now, many women, they get involved with this guy, and it really gets really frustrating because they're looking for this guy from the single mother household to be a husband. They're looking for him to lead. They're looking for him to be an authority figure. They're looking for him to assert himself, and he can't do it because he's always talking about mama. And that's again a frustrating thing, because when a man talks about another woman to his woman, that's something that you just don't do. And again, that all comes from the boy, again, not understanding boundaries as related to women. You never go out here and talk about another woman to your wife or your woman. You never talk about them in front of her, because that's definitely going to be one of those things that makes her very angry, because she wants to be that center in your life. And as a wife, she wants that role where she is in that esteemed title. She doesn't want to be having mama at all the way in her space. And that's something, again, these guys don't understand about women, because they've been raised by a woman, and a lot of these guys, they wind up in a really bad place because of this surrogate relationship that they have with their mothers. They have this surrogate relationship where they're used to being this head of household in a pseudo position, but he's not really a head of household. It's just a symbolic title. And yes, he gets to have complete autonomy in his mama's house, more autonomy than a man would have in his own home. And she gives him that because she just wants to have him there, just because she can't have any other men, because she's driven all those men away. So you'll have a lot of women out here. They will have their son be the man of the house, but as he's the man of the house, he's got all this autonomy, but he's not really leading anything. She's paying the bills. She's taking care of the house, and he's just sitting there. And this is where your boys learn these dysfunctional dynamics, and they learn how to become taken care of by women instead of taking care of business themselves. This is where your boy learns that he lives off a woman, and he goes from a codependent relationship with his mama into his girlfriend's house. And that's the thing that leads to her becoming frustrated, because she expected that she could mold this boy into some kind of man like mama did, but there's no molding a boy into a man from a female. No, you need a man to teach a boy how to be a man, because there are certain male life skills only another man knows. There are certain things about manhood another man can teach another man, and there are certain only life skills only another man knows. I mean, women think that they know these kind of things, but they don't know these things the way a man has, because a man has experienced these kinds of things. And you can tell the difference between a guy who was raised in one of these surrogate codependent relationships and a guy who was raised in an interdependent relationship. And again, the guy who was raised in the interdependent relationships, he's oftentimes looking to go out here and be on his own. He's oftentimes looking to set stuff up. He's looking to establish himself, and he's looking to go out here and take action towards building his own foundation. Whereas the other guy, he's always looking to go out here and look for some woman to help him, some woman to take care of him. And that's not the way a healthy man goes out here and does things. A healthy man, he wants to forsake his mother and father, and he wants to cleave to a wife, and he wants to have his own household with his wife under God's natural order. He doesn't want to be stuck in his mother's house. No, because being stuck in your mother's house means you're stuck in a perpetual state of adolescence, and you're not allowed to grow up to become an adult man. So a lot of these guys, they think that being a teenager is normal and acting like a teenager is normal, but that's not normal at all. No, a man is supposed to get to a point where he becomes established. He can go out here and be able to take care of his own bills, take care of his own business, and have his own home. And this is where a man is supposed to be. But when you have boys who grow up in these single mother homes with the surrogate mother who is acting like a wife, the boy never gets to grow up to become that man. And what they do is they wind up making it where the boy is still stuck at a certain mental age. Yes, he may be physically 35. He may physically be 40. He may even be physically 50. But when you start talking to him and you start listening to what the things that he says, they're no different than the things a 16 or 17-year-old would say. And his whole frame of mindset as related to taking responsibility is the same mindset of about 15 or a 16-year-old. And that's all because the mother is afraid of the boy going out into the world. Now, in some parts of the black community, these mothers try to justify this fear, saying that, oh, if I let my boy go out here and do things, the police are going to get him or the gangs are going to get him. But that is not the case at all. You can't be afraid of letting your boy go out here and taking responsibility, because he has to take responsibility for himself in order to become a man. He has to go out here and find a way to go out here and make a living and be able to take care of himself, because there's going to come a point where he is going to have to go out here and be able to do these things, because a man, you're not going to be there. And that's what many mothers don't understand. You prepare your children because you know that there may be a day where you're not going to be able to care for them. So he has to learn how to take care of himself. And you being the surrogate wife prevents him from being able to reach that point. And what that does is, this is why we've got your hobosexuals living with women. This is why we have your Pookies and your Ray Rays with their trash bag duffel bags. This is why we have your trash bag Mike. This is why some men fall into homelessness, because there's the mother has gone out here and messed the boy's development up, attached this emotional host to him, made him into a surrogate boyfriend, made him into a surrogate husband, and this has destroyed this boy's ability to develop and mature. And when he can't develop and mature, what happens to him? He winds up on the streets and unable to function. And that's what happens to these boys who are become these surrogate husbands. They wind up not being able to function. And that's what I saw transpire last week with the whole shooting as related to LaShawn McNeil, who murdered those two police officers. You'll have many of the politicians, they sit there and talked about gun control, and they made that the issue. But gun control was one major deflection as related to LaShawn McNeil's story. When I looked at the details of LaShawn McNeil's story, and I saw where the real problem was, and the real problem was that he had a mother who refused to let him grow up. And all this boy did was grow old because he was in a surrogate husband relationship. And it was that surrogate husband relationship that led to the tragic deaths of those two police officers and cost LaShawn McNeil his life. This beta male, he was the real reason why he had that whole incident started, was because his mother had fostered this codependent relationship with him. And as she was having that argument with the boy about his vegan diet, she was actually having an argument with the boy's father and projecting the boy's father onto him. And your LaShawn McNeil didn't really understand this. And as he stormed into his room, his mother then called the police. And this was something that exploded, where he exploded into rage, and it wound up becoming a tragic incident. But everybody again is talking about gun control, even though New York State has some of the strictest gun control laws. But what escalated this shooting was the fact that this boy had been raised in a dysfunctional fashion, and his mother was having an argument with the boy's father and projecting it onto the son. And this is what really led to this whole escalation of the incident. And it probably was one of the reasons why the boy had grown up to become in and out of prison and had a completely messed up life. Because again, these surrogate relationships, these surrogate husband relationships, they really are not healthy relationships. And these surrogate husband relationships, they practically destroy a lot of boys. But you won't hear many politicians talk about how these relationships practically destroy young boys and turn them into extremely dysfunctional men, because they practically orchestrated all this when they created the welfare state and led to the rise of the single parent household. And talking about this, again, points the finger at them, and it also points a finger at many of these women out here who have raised these boys in an extremely dysfunctional fashion. And this whole surrogate relationship, it just practically messes these boys up completely, and it turns them into just absolute wrecks. Yeah, Todd, I've seen that myself. Again, when these boys, again, when they're single, married mother, yeah, when their single moms die, that really destroys these guys, and it leads to them their whole life deteriorating because they never really cut that apron string, and they still have these dysfunctional bonds with the mother. And the whole thing is they can't function without her, and that's why they go into these depressions and they become drug addicts. And that's why these guys practically mentally fall apart, because when mom is gone, they don't know how to function in the world without her. I mean, a lot of these guys, they can't do anything without their mothers, and they never learned how to do anything on their own. That's something a man learns how to do, because his father cuts the apron strings, his father sets boundaries, his father pulls the boy away, and he tells the boy, "You've got to go out here and do things on your own, because the God needs you to be a servant and a steward." And the whole thing is that you can't be a servant and a steward if you're out here and you're still holding on to mama. You can't be the man that does God's work here on earth if you're holding on to mama, because God needs you to forsake mother and father and cleave to a wife and be the man that is his servant and his steward. And again, many of your single moms, they don't want the boy to grow up to that role, and they don't understand how important that role is to God the Most High for boys to grow up into becoming men, because a man, he needs to become a steward. He needs to become a head. And a lot of women, they fear the boy becoming a head because the first man that they trusted hurt them. The first man that they trusted betrayed them. The first man that they trusted did them dirty. And they don't want their sons to grow up to become that kind of man. But your son may not ever become a man at all, because the whole thing is, what many of the women don't understand is that the reason why that guy was like that was because he was not taught how to be a steward under God. And the reason why that man walked away and did that woman dirty was because he was not taught how to become a responsible steward in God's order, and he was not taught about his role as a man. And many women, what they do is they make it where, oh, all guys are like this. No, not all men are like this. No, God-centered men have a standard. God-centered men have rules. God-centered men are accountable to God, and God-centered men follow God's commandments. And they're not looking to burn a woman. They're not looking to do a woman dirty. And they're not looking to go out here and do wrong to a woman. No, a man is out here. He wants to do right to women, for women, and he wants to have healthy relationships with women. But many American women, they're so caught up in their feelings about how this guy burned them in the past. They don't see how they're destroying their sons right now in the present. So they're not really thinking about, oh, I'm messing up my son. They're just thinking, oh, I'm going out here and I'm helping him out, but you're not helping him at all. All right, Jay, here's the link to Stop Simping in Cyberspace. You can pick it up in Kindle and paperback right now. I'm hoping that you pick it up. But they don't really want the boy to grow up to become that man. But they don't understand the guy who she got involved with. Yes, he's bad. But if you teach your son about God and God's order, he can go out here and become a man who follows the Most High. and he needs other men who follow the Most High to give him guidance and support. And that's something that many of your mothers don't go out here and do. They isolate the boy, put him around a lot of women because they don't trust other men. But you need to have God-centered men to show him a model of manhood, and that's something that many of these guys who grow up in single mother households don't have. They grow up not having male figures to teach them manhood, and that's why they start going out here trying to use female approaches. But these female approaches and this codependent relationship they have with their mothers, this is what does them in when they get older. And again, just like Todd Muhammad pointed out, these guys fall completely apart when mama is gone. But a true to the game mom, she understands she's not going to be here one day, and she was going to support the father in preparing the boy so he can go out here and be on his own when she's gone, because any man understands that he needs to honor his mother and his father. And one of the ways you honor your mother and your father is by going on to continue to do God's work, continuing to go on to be God's steward, and continuing to go out here and teach and prepare your son and your daughter to be heads and to be stewards like he is, and teaching them the importance of stewardship and the importance of continuing to maintain responsibility as a man. And again, many of our young men, they're not getting this because they have this surrogate codependent relationship with their moms, and their moms are trying to raise their boys to not be like their fathers in the worst way by trying to teach them to be these soft, nice guys who are so sensitive and caring. But these sensitive guys can't even go out here and work a job at McDonald's because somebody told them to do something they didn't want to do. So they wound up quitting within a day or 2 days, or they start talking about how they weren't happy on a job. And that's another thing that messes up, again, many of these codependent boys. Again, they don't get discipline and resolve because mom always makes excuses for him. She always gives passes to him, and she always gives him an out for everything. Whereas a boy who has a healthy thing, she's not going to give him any outs or making excuses. She's going to want to support the father in helping that boy become a healthy man. And that's a big problem again, because a surrogate husband, he's basically learning how to be a mom and not learning how to be a father. And that's another thing that we have with the surrogate husband, is that he doesn't see how his role is becoming effeminized, because most of your surrogate husbands, that these boys, they basically are in the wife role. Yes, they are told that they're the man of the house, but a lot of these guys, they're in the female position because they're in the home taking care of the home, while mama is out here taking all of the leadership role. And that's what also makes them absolutely useless as related to being a man. And that's what turns them basically into just a pair of pants with a penis in it, and not a man who can go out here and do what a man does. That's basically all you get with these kind of guys. They just sit in the woman's house, looking to go out here and watch soap operas and talk shows and eat all sorts of junk food. Or if they do go out, they're going to stand outside the Arab corner store to participate in gossip, acting just like a female. And that, again, that all comes from that surrogate codependent relationship, because nobody goes out here and demands that he be a man, and nobody holds him to the standard of manhood. And that's always been the problem, again, with these single mother guys who grow from the single mother households and the surrogate relationship. And again, this surrogate relationship destroys this boy, and it starts very, very young. And again, this is why a father is important, because a father is the one who establishes the order. A father is the one who establishes the structure, and a father is the one who goes out here and establishes boundaries for his son and the way he is raised. And it's important for a father to come in and start setting those boundaries early on, because if he does not set those boundaries early on, what happens is you get a male who does not really understand how relationship dynamics work, and he winds up in dysfunctional relationships that wind up not really benefiting him. And these relationships, all they do is enable him to remain a perpetual child who never grows up but just grows old. Now, I want to thank the Revelator for the Cash App. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, you can do so as well. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, you can do so as well. And if you want to donate to the PayPal, you can donate to the PayPal. Or if you want to drop a super chat, that would all, again, be basically appreciated. So Computer Robot says, now I see why prior to the 1960s, when the parents divorce, the mother or the father let the children stay with the grandparents until they remarry, because you need both parents. Yeah, that's definitely true. You do need both parents there to give them structure, because without both parents, you're going to have a completely messed up dynamic where you need the mother to nurture for one point, and you need the father to provide discipline and structure. And when one parent is gone, you don't really have that structure. Computer Robots also goes on to say, Sean James, to give you a structure of womanhood and manhood and the son and the daughter. Yeah, that you do need those. You need all of that in place. And again, there's an order that God created. Again, God's natural order, where it's God, the Most High, Jesus, his son, and then the man, and then the woman and the children. And that's the structure that is established as the core foundation of the order. And again, the father, he's important because he is the steward who makes sure that everything is running the way it's supposed to be as related to the family. And when he's not there, you really get some screwed up dynamics as related to the family. So that's a big problem with a lot of these boys out here. What's going on, the King? Glad to see you here. But you see a lot of these guys, they're a complete mess because they don't know how to go out here and be the man that they're supposed to be. And whenever they make those steps, mom slaps them down. And when she slaps them down, that really messes the boy up. It discourages him from going out here to persevere. And if he doesn't have that father there to encourage him to keep pushing, he just curls up into a ball because that's what mom wants. And that's why many of these surrogate husbands practically turn into these just dead weight that's out here. And that's what happens when you don't really have that father to say, you know what? Yeah, you failed. Yeah, you messed up. But you got to get back up and get back out there. And you got to really rethink what you did and then go out here and try to work this over again. Computer Robots goes on to say, and if the father divorces the mother and the mother was unfit to look after her children, the father remarried to the stepmother and the stepmother would look after the kids. Sometimes they would do that and hope, and maybe they would get good results. But a lot of times that relationship really didn't work out because women don't like other women's children, and women don't like anything to do with another woman. The same way a man doesn't really like things that family members who come from another family from another man. So oftentimes when you go out here and you have relationships, you have to really think about who you're getting involved with, and you have to think about who you are going to go out here and have family with. Because if this man was not good enough to show you what type of character he has, then you shouldn't be involved with them. And again, a lot of single mothers from the feminist movement onward, they have not really taken the time to vet guys, and they really don't understand that there's a vetting process for guys that you have to go through so that you can get men of equality character. And the guys who aren't of quality, they don't want to go through this vetting process. All they want to do is smash and dash, and all they want to do is get some easy skid mark thongs to hang on their mantle. So That's why we're having all these guys out here who are learning how to be dysfunctional, because there's no men of character out here who are going out here and teaching them to become men of character, and they're not setting boundaries with women, and that's what leads to these emotional hoses being attached to sons. Because again, we used to call it back in the day cutting the apron strings, and this was something that had to be done so that the boy could go out here and function like a man, so that he would not be stuck in your house in a forever perpetual state of adolescence. So the surrogate son, the surrogate husband, is again not a healthy relationship at all for a man to be in. And we should always encourage your son whenever they're going out here to go out here and do for self, because when he does for himself, that's where he's supposed to be as related to God. And when he's out here doing for self, this is what you want your son to be doing, because he shouldn't be out here in being a child. He should be working towards being a man. And if he's a man, then he's in God's purpose. And if he's in God's purpose, he's out here again. He's going to get to that point where he's going to build his own family. Because again, a man is supposed to forsake his mother and father, and he's supposed to cleave to his wife. So him going out on his own, that's what he's supposed to do. But many boys, again, because of the surrogate relationship, they never get that chance. And this really hurts many of our men, especially those in the Black community, where this whole paradigm has become the norm. And as this paradigm has become the norm, this is why we have a man crisis in here, especially here in America, because we have a whole 2 to 3 generation of boys who have never really learned how to become men, and their mothers keep them from becoming men because they're afraid to let their boys grow up. And sadly, because she won't let him grow up, all he does is grow old. And when he grows old, he's unable to go out here and do the things a man is supposed to do. So if you want to learn more about this dysfunctional paradigm, you can pick up 2 of my books. One of them I talk about this is Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. There, and you can also pick it up in A Man Crisis, which also goes in depth talking about this subject. So you can pick it up and learn from those 2 books. And all of those books, they go in depth on the subject. But I really wanted to do this live stream because I really wanted to talk about this subject in depth, because I see, again, so many boys messed up with these type of relationship dynamics. And I've seen guys like football players, basketball players, they wind up messed up, and then they wind up in the poorhouse after they achieve their success, because the mama will sit there and say, oh, my boy got all this success, he's an NBA player, or my boy has a college degree and a good job. But the boy can't function by himself. And because he can't function by himself, what happens is once he starts to talk about getting married and starts talking about having a family, that's when we see the wheels fall off this boy, and we see this boy grow up to become a dysfunctional wreck. And this is, again, all because the boy was not raised in a functional way. And we have to really acknowledge that these relationships are not healthy. I remember Ringo was talking about one guy who was taught how to tongue kiss by his mother. And again, these boundaries, they're really, again, not being established. And this really messes up these boys. And you really need that father there to prepare his son for manhood, because without that father, you get this type of unhealthy relationship. And this unhealthy relationship, it really does not really help these boys grow up to become healthy men. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, and I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. I would really appreciate it if you guys would pick up some of the SJS Direct fantasy fiction, like Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, Eve Steam Cancel Vacation, and John Haynes Taking Care of Business. I need 3 more sales to get to 30 sales for the month of January. And I really would appreciate it if you guys would head over to Amazon.com and pick up some of the books on the SJS Direct imprint. I mean, I only need 3 more sales to get to 30, and you guys could really help out with that. And again, if you guys could donate to the Cash App, that would also be appreciated as well. So I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, and I have to film some more videos for next week. So I have a busy, and I also have to finish writing The Woman Crisis. I got another chapter I need to write. I'm getting towards the finish line on The Woman Crisis. I hope to have that out soon. So I hope you guys are ready. I'm going to hope to eventually get the editing done and get towards the pre-order by the third quarter of this year. So that's where I'm aiming for the pre-order on The Woman Crisis. So I hope you'll be there for the launch of The Woman Crisis, the 2022 SJS Direct catalog. John Haynes at Death's Door Comic. Lots of great projects coming up at SJS Direct, and I hope you'll be there for all of them. But I'm going to wrap up tonight's stream, and I want to thank everybody again for coming out to tonight's stream. Have a good night, have a great weekend, and thank you for coming out tonight.